Hey, what's up? Hey guys.
Hello, YouTube, Spotify,
Apple iTunes,
Stitcher.
Ramblers, as we like to refer to you all as. How are you guys doing? Hope you're doing well.
I'm sure
Welcome
it's going fantastic.
to another episode of
Two
Rambling
sisters.
I'm one of your hosts, Ashley.
I'm the other one, Michaela.
And I think we'll just jump right into it. It's a new
crazy.
week. Obviously, things are still chaotic. I don't think anything is going to die down within 2020. So every week brings something ridiculous.
My boss's boss's boss today
That's too many levels above.
told us all that it's literally only going to get crazier for the next and not only just in work. She's like, things are not just going to go back all of a sudden, which is like duh once you think about it, but I'm sitting here and I'm just like, it's been 6 weeks now, 6 or more, I think, of being like quarantined.
We've been home since
And at
March.
home.
It's July.
Yeah, so like it's
almost been 5 months.
Hold on.
March, April, May, June, July.
We have been home since March.
Yeah, it's insane.
April, May, June, July.
We came home. I started work from home March 15th. And today is July 16th.
That shook me up.
Yeah, it's super messed up.
6, so much more than 6 weeks.
To think about it,
no, that makes sense.
our amazing
doesn't.
friend, she left on maternity leave right before COVID
and is
started,
and
she is coming back, and we are all still work from home, and so that's how we're judging time. and now, like we said,
the other friend is about to have her baby, so we can start the time over.
And it's super weird. I was talking to Pat today that, let's be honest, holiday season is right around the corner. We went to Menards. If you are from Minnesota or the upper Midwest, y'all know what Menards is. And if you don't, sucks to suck. So
you're
just kidding.
Okay.
Actually,
yeah,
we've been mad at Menards lately, but not as mad as them as we are Fleet Farm.
They probably have like a why are you so mad?
Because Pat says they don't rotate at Fleet Farm.
At Farm Fleet,
if you're trying the farm of the fleet. People. Here's the deal with Fleet Farm.
Sorry, guys.
Again, another it's another, how do you describe it? What are those kinds of stores called? They have a specific term, like Fleet Farm, the Tractor Supply, Minbach,
Runnings.
Yeah, they're all like sports recreational stores, but not like
they're like
Dick's
department. Yeah, but they're still like department stores.
They're like farmer stores. That's the best way I can describe it, right? They're
because you can also get your feed there, and
exactly,
and feed for everything like dogs too. So sometimes you can go make your own dog food
and
at places like
if
that.
you're lucky
like
enough,
Minbach.
then when you spend at Fleet Farm, then you always get discounts off your gas, which is super nice. But long story short, I judge time by a few different things, like when we're coming close to seasons, and when we went into
the release of different products.
Yeah, when we went into Menards the other day, I was being really strict, because when we go in there, it's a loose cannon,
especially if there's
so I was like,
Halloween stuff.
Curtain rods. All we're doing is curtain rods. And then we're going to walk up to check out, and Pat takes a really hard left to go to the outdoor section. And I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I just have to check and see if they put something out already. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we can't even plant stuff because we're moving, and we have this. And we get there, and it's like, no, he's looking for hunting stuff.
Yeah.
So the hunting equipment has already come out and is starting to be stocked at Fleet Farm, which means I
just want to see if something's out yet.
Yeah, and I was just like, so whatever.
We're trying to get out of here.
But we got what we needed. But that's how I know that, sadly, like, we're encroaching on the end of summer, because hunting stuff is starting to come out. And then, the minute Halloween shit starts hitting the shelves.
I haven't eaten any candy since last Halloween.
I've been doing super good.
Christmas, we didn't candy out.
We were super smart. We made a very
Easter, we didn't
stern rule.
Yeah, not as much candy, because the year before last, our stockings were overfilling with candy, and then some of the presents just were candy.
Yeah, and we were like, that's it. And we didn't eat half of it, and we could only give so much away before.
Pro tip: you can melt down Brock's and Palmer's candies, and then what I did is I melted the crispy ones with them, and I dipped sugar cookies and
Yeah,
then
see,
like
that would
fudge
be
dipped cookies.
that sounds like that would
That's
be
how
delicious.
I reused the
Smart.
chocolate.
And I read too, and I'm sure this is normal, like most chocolate does still have a shelf life, but what happens is it needs to be melted back
Needs
together.
to be tempered, yeah.
So when your chocolate gets that like crumbly, you should melt it with a little bit of milk or butter, something like that, and then you can usually get it for a second round of something like dipping or whatever.
Yeah. Waste not, want not.
Yes.
So
exactly.
so yeah, candy. So we're gonna probably go hard for Halloween candy this year. I don't know.
Yeah.
I might go to Memphis for Halloween this year.
I definitely will be here, and I'll hopefully be in a new house decorating because that sounds right. But again, let's be honest. Who knows if Halloween is even gonna like? What does Halloween entail when you can't trick or treat? Because
we haven't been trick or treating.
No, but I mean, like I hand out candy to kids, which is still fun, even though we don't get a lot on my block. But
yeah, I guess that's probably not going to be a thing this year because you don't want a bunch of you don't want your kid touching all the candy from all these different households.
Hand in hand. And so, what happens if kids can't
trunk or treat? Hopefully, and we do things.
It's still the same idea, though. Like you are going to 12 different trunks that have 12 hands that handed you.
Well, then I'm going to host this thing where all the kids get in a line and I give them bags of candy.
It's actually like this year is going to totally be up to the parents to just go buy the $15 bag of candy
and hide it and have the kid walk around to each bedroom and like trick or treat.
Yeah, you're gonna have to get creative.
Have one of them be a trick. It'll be funny.
That's smart. That's how we're gonna have to get creative this year. I see a lot of distant holidays happening too because people can't travel.
I'm all for a good distant holiday.
Yeah, we don't do holidays really heavily with the fam bam anyways,
really heavily in general.
That shit
I just don't celebrate a lot of the same things anyways. So.
Not the same way. Like don't get me wrong.
You're right. Total correction.
I just have a little different
but also like Easter's not a huge part of my life. However, I love a good gathering with food. So
I just
anytime
love
I can get
in terms of
I have a ham steak at home
when it's like glazed and has pineapple on it. That's my jam. Okay, well now we're talking about food.
I don't even know how we got here.
Together. So, shall we talk about what has been entertaining us and what we've been doing?
Sure. I went first last time.
I'll go first. Okay, so again, I feel like I'm not sure what happened in this last week, but I've still been crushing it on my workout program. So I'm going to continue to brag about that because I really got off kilter. And we all know, as we talk about mental health, for a lot of us, working out is a wonderful way to deal with your anxiety and your depression. And I don't think anyone's anxiety or depression is going away anytime soon. If anything, it's consistently being heightened by everything.
My limits are being tested every day.
Everything that's happening. So I have been really trying to be more aware of how much time I'm giving myself because I did not have, a month ago, I probably had like the week or the roughest week that I've had in fucking years. And I 100% contributed that to just like overwhelming stress, and I wasn't treating myself well, and I wasn't doing anything to help myself. I was just getting super unhealthy in terms of the food I was eating, the lack of exercise, and I was like, no, you got to get back on track. So that's definitely what I've been doing for myself. And then for what's been entertaining me, I'm going to talk about so my homework this week was to write a film review.
It's always so fun when your homework falls under what's been entertaining you.
It's super great. And so there was this movie, and my boss had recommended to me to watch it actually quite some time ago, and I was super terrible and I didn't watch it and I regretted it.
It's not super terrible because you actually watched quite a few
watch a lot
of the things.
I consider it my outside of work homework that like what?
My cheeks are shiny.
Oh, I thought you said my cheeks are saggy, and I was like,
they're not. They're really high up here.
I was like, that's even possible.
No, my cheeks are shiny. Sorry, I got distracted.
So, Hunt for the Wilder People
is the movie.
It was the movie that I watched, and Taika Waititi.
Is it Hunt for the Wilder People?
I think it's Wilder People because the story behind it
wildebeest
is that that's what it is, a wildebeest. So it's the wilder people.
Is there a wildebeest?
Wilder People.
Is there a wildebeest in?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually like part of the thing is that they hunt pig. So
thought wildebeest looked like antelope.
I don't think so. I thought wildebeest were porks, were pigs.
No, what think of the Lion King. There's wildebeests in it every time.
Yeah, isn't that what Timon is or Pumbaa?
No, he's a warthog.
Maybe that's what it is. I thought warthog and wildebeest were.
Because he goes, thing. When I was a young warthog.
Okay, but
I'm looking it up right now, and I'll show you guys too.
Right, fact check. Michaela's gonna fact check,
and then you tell me more about the wildebeest.
So, the movie, emotionally wonderful. There are plenty of ups and downs, but it pulls you through it at a wonderful pace. And this definitely was a filming debut in terms of how Waititi went on to direct Thor. And now he also has been signed on to do the new Mandalorian series for Star Wars, which is huge. Did you figure it out? What is it?
No, I wanted you to finish.
I want you to tell me.
Well, first of all, you should know that this does look like an antelope, but it doesn't. You're correct. It's clearly some type of boar, but it's got.
No, that's an antelope.
Look.
Yeah, and that's not what I was
talking about. But do you see
about.
how this is a wildebeest?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a wildebeest.
That's not what I was talking
and
about.
And I said it kind of looks hoggish.
That's why I think it's hunt for the Wilder People.
Well, do they hunt? So they don't hunt these?
No, they hunt boars.
Oh. Okay. All right.
Oh. Because it's something about like when they call people bush people. What do they call them? If we don't live in the bush, but we live in the wild. Wilder people. Something like that.
I don't know what you're talking about, but I like it.
I fucked up the whole movie just because I cannot describe.
Someone help us.
The first sentence right. Anyways,
we'll say the Wilder People. It makes sense.
Now I'm gonna watch it again because I.
Do they never say the title in the whole movie?
No, there's the line. There is a line delivered where he says, "What do we? If we call them this, what do we call?"
Oh,
us?
You were quoting. I thought you were trying to quote something I knew because you made such heavy eye contact.
Because I was hoping you would just get it. Okay, cool. So I watched that and it was amazing, and I really love Taika Waititi in terms of what he's done. Because if you didn't know, he was also involved in Flight of the Conchords. He's from New Zealand, and so
New Zealanders are funny.
And most of obviously a lot of his original stuff was very indie. And so it's not often like it got an actual like debut here. You're probably going to find him on Netflix or something. Yeah. But then he did What We Do in the Shadows. And then he's still.
Which is funny.
A part of that. Oh my God, it's so funny.
Now I want to watch Flight of the Conchords really bad.
Jermaine Clement.
Yeah, I was just going to say he's so funny.
And then he's also in Legion, which is something that's a Marvel spinoff, which I was a huge fan of. He's in a few things
as like a normal guy too. Yeah. Now his face is starting to come back.
He's also in he was in a movie with Aubrey Plaza. It's like, what about something?
I think, and he also
which is crazy because they did Legion with Aubrey Plaza.
He totally was dating someone. Oh, wasn't he dating someone? Wasn't he in Parks and Rec for a little bit? And it was like he was dating Anne.
I wouldn't even be surprised.
Anne. And I think it was because then this was it Tom kept making super fun of him? Tom.
That makes sense.
All the time, and you'd be like, I just totally cut all that out. I'm sorry, but
no,
that was crazy.
It's fun.
I don't even know if that's him, so I feel like I'm probably super wrong. So what else has been entertaining you?
So that I have caught up on What We Do in the Shadows. Speaking of,
oh yeah,
yes, which has been great. It's so freaking funny, and Haley Joel Osment is in the first episode. So that, and then obviously, really just the homework status. Again, I only have 2 more weeks of school, and then I'm officially done. So then I think things are really going to get interesting in terms of what kind of freelance work I try and do. Video games again. I haven't picked up Animal Crossings in almost 2 weeks. I'm so disappointed.
There's probably either, but that's not my fault.
Yeah, well, mine is my fault. I usually make time, but now I've been.
I haven't had internet. Like the internet connection still hasn't been fixed in my house.
That's so annoying. Well, why don't you tell me what you've been doing?
I will. All right. What's been entertaining me / what have I been doing for myself? I'm gonna have to get a whole new interface because I think that's the input that
I don't know
makes it so you can't hear the headphone. Well, I'll just start with what's been entertaining me because that's just on the top of my head already. TJ went through and watched all of the Umbrella Academy.
So good. So excited. New season comes out on the 21st, and on Netflix right now they have the behind the scenes of season 1.
Yes. What else have I been watching? I feel like I haven't been watching a lot. I bought a couple new books, which is nice.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
we did get some new books.
I got like the psychology behind Rick and Morty, or the psychology of Rick and Morty. Yeah. It's gonna be really.
It's like Rick and Morty and psychology, which was or not psychology.
No, it's Rick and Morty and
philosophy.
Yes.
Because I have Alice in Wonderland and philosophy.
Yes, and then they have like 14 other ones.
Yep.
And then How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Yes,
I got
I'm
that book.
Super excited.
I'm excited to read.
For you to read that. I got White Fragility.
Yeah, we got them to trade.
And The Colors of Law, which I'm super excited to read.
So can be very good.
More of that to come when we finally get everything settled.
Yeah. And other than that, for what I've been doing for myself, I've just been keeping on top of things, really maintaining like I usually am. Paid some bills down.
This summer is going by so fast, and usually we would be doing things like going to Lake George, or we would have all this live music to tell you about, and we don't. So now we're just going to keep telling you the new things we're trying to do every week. So yeah, hopefully we're entertaining you. Maybe you tell us what's been entertaining you. We don't care.
Maybe.
We don't care. Anything else?
We do care.
Anything new?
That's not yet. What? No, there's nothing new. That's about it.
That's
is
about
what
it.
I was trying to say.
Love it. Well, I didn't really have anything huge, a huge topic in general prepared to discuss. So I was just going to hit on some things I came across this week, but
I have something. I have some things written down.
That's
too.
what I was going to say. If you have,
I'll spit off you. I bet they're in my wallet downstairs.
Do you remember them by heart?
Well, I should, because the whole page is filled. Oh, okay. So did you know what a no-knock raid was?
Yes.
Prior to listening to that episode of Pod Save the People, which you guys killing it. That's an amazing show.
I did, obviously, because of the Brennan Taylor.
Brianna.
God dang. I don't know why I said that. Incident, and so
murder.
Yeah, absolutely murder.
And it's not an incident. Well, this is why I play off of it. Then, if you know what it is, then a no-knock raid is essentially you have to get a no-knock warrant for it. But the issue is that, well, I'll explain it first. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's the ability to enter into a person's home without warning and essentially enter like guns a-blazing. And the reasoning behind it is so that the no, I have it. I was just trying to think of a word. It's so that like if there is any evidence, it cannot be hidden or thrown away or flushed down the toilet or what have you. And the biggest thing that shocked me so much is that like in the specific cities that they were talking about when I was listening to the show, the denial rate for those for a no-knock warrant was like less than 1%, which meant that every single request for a no-knock warrant that was going in was getting approved.
Yeah.
And now the shadiest part of all of that is that the people approving them have absolutely no training in civil rights, civil law enforcement, anything like that. Some of these people are elected officials from the town, and then they go on to talk about coroners and how coroners
they don't even need a medical degree for some
in
towns.
Like all but 4 states, I think.
Yep.
So it's really crazy because you think down the line, when you start thinking at the very, very beginning of, hey, who who is as because we as the public so blatantly see that these murders happened. They were on camera, some of them even, and yet still people were able to get off with some to none punishment.
Yes.
And we have to start thinking about why that is, because it's like it's not just the final judge making this random decision that like, hey, there's all these steps, like the coroner, who may not even be the pathologist, I learned, can call the death certificate.
There is an actual like law. It's like parlay, like pirate
parlay,
where so in the police union, and now I'm upset I can't remember right off the top of my head, but Google it, you'll know. When a police is on trial, there is a law that protects them against a certain action if they can not come up with a previous trial in which it was proved that they acted unlawfully. So an example used is like...
So like basically every first time offense is going to go on...
That's 100% what it is.
Nice.
And right down to the fact that like there was a case in which a man was murdered while he was on his knees by the police,
right,
versus a man who was murdered while he was on his stomach. And because the man was on his stomach in the first case and not in the second, they ruled in favor of the police officer. And so these are the kinds of things when we talk about voting for your local elections and realizing who you're putting in office.
It's so that fucking old ass Greg hasn't held his position for the last 15 years, making false reports.
Another crazy thing, and I don't know if we hit on this last week when we talked about it, but because I was reading or listening to Pod Save the People and then reading about The Color of Law, I come across more of this information in which... Hold on. I just completely lost my train of thought. Here we go again. Happens. So where we talk about lower income areas paying higher property taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And property taxes is what goes back to your local state. And then that is what pays out police officers and medics public officials and your Sydney ordinance people. And so the overarching picture here is that lower income people who are very much the victims of police and systemic racism are still paying into that system at a much higher rate than...
Yeah, if anything, their service should be better. They should be better protected as you're paying more.
That's exactly what it is. And so when it boils down and you hear it talked about in your communities where it's like Black people are paying for police officers to murder them. And so when we talk about defunding the police, that's where it comes from. Because that's the citizens' money going into that payroll.
Well, and it's
and they can't even feel protected by that.
In addition to that, it's an obscene amount,
right? Exactly.
So like, there's no, I mean, I don't know the statistics, so I can't go around quoting things, but
and we're obviously huge condoners of like doing your own research, all right, because you really can't... I had to have this conversation with Pat because he's like, I just don't understand. I don't understand why people can't see it. I don't understand why we can't just take care of it. And I go, that's what systemic racism is, babe. That's where it's built into the system, and you don't even know because you didn't realize that system was built to oppress. And then you find out, and now you're angry. And imagine that anger and having that for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And not being able to fight against it.
There's people who find out exactly what Pat found out and couldn't give a rat's ass.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And that's what the problem is.
Okay, well, I'm here for me. So
like I told him, I go, it's not about the people who feel it. It's not about the allies. It is 100% about the people that don't give a shit. Those are the people that we need to figure out what's going on there, because that's why we can't change.
At this point, we need to eliminate their opinion. There's no more opinions on racism anymore. Yeah, exactly.
We want to talk equality, and I'm not saying...
Should you take a potato peeler and peel off some of your skin? No. Should you be racist? No. Those are the equal amount of severity for me.
There are when we talk about everyone having the same
civil rights,
human rights, like not even civil, like
human
rights. We talked about it last week where some people take that as a threat to their own human rights. And so until we can build a system that proves that you can still work hard, make more money, and do that without taking away from other people.
Right. Like no matter what the pool is going to keep.
Like there unfortunately will still be low income, middle income, high income, but the problem is that low income and high income gap is growing so wide.
Well, in low income and high income is simply just a spot on the graph. Our low income still needs to be livable, and it's not right now. So
we brought that up. That got brought up this weekend when we were asked how our feelings about people making unemployment more than they would when they were getting actually paid by their company.
And my answer was that amount of money for unemployment was generated based off of the standard need for living, which means if somebody is getting paid more in their unemployment, that means they were not making a livable wage prior to doing so.
And so the problem here is not that they're getting paid more than
in unemployment.
Yeah, in unemployment. The problem was that they were not getting paid enough to live in the first place. And so imagine.
And how dare you be mad at somebody else for having the blessing to finally have a better living, at least for a little bit.
Exactly.
Like, did it take any money out of your pocket?
They're not living a lavish life off of this, right? By no means is anyone bringing in.
And of course, there's the random few who, cheat the system.
Exactly.
I have to acknowledge it because you're always going to get the people who say, well, what about? Yeah. Listen, it's not as common as you think. We had a discussion today about the amount of legitimate money that was paid out to small business owners and et cetera, as I was reading through some things. And it's nice to really see the amount that was successful versus the amount that was fraudulently gained or what have you.
Right.
So I think that's also a really interesting point to make, is that like this mindset that some people have that any government assistance is stealing money or lazy. Please remember that the government's here to serve us. We are not here to serve our government. They work for us.
Exactly. And we pay into that.
So if you make enough money,
when my paycheck comes to me, there's so much money taken out of it. So even as
and then even if
someone dipped poor, they're still paying into that system.
It makes me so mad too, because then you have we're paying all that money for all these things, and still, no matter what, it's going to be whoever wins the vote for whatever election or whatever our representative is going to make the final decision no matter what. So I'm being forced to pay this money in when I know for a fact that my voice is not going to be heard, even if I were,
not necessarily heard. I do believe that every vote counts. And I'll say it again.
I said voice, not
please
vote.
Watch, and she could be next.
Yes.
But I definitely, your voice is not representative and
represented. Yes, that's a better way to put that.
And how disappointing is that? And
when I see $500 taken out of my damn check every week,
I'm so very interested. I'm almost glad I'm the age I am right now, because I know that things are going to be drastically different in the next 10 years. We talked about the economic impact that's going to come from this worldwide. The environmental impact that is still happening, but the weird ways in which we're seeing it get better because of lockdowns everywhere and where nature is rebuilding itself. And so I'm interested to see where we're going to learn and where we're going to repeat our mistakes. I'm also interested to see, as an American citizen, what my country is going to look like in the next 10 years compared to other countries, because again, I have this strong feeling, and this is my opinion, that a lot of the people who are anti-human rights, that's what I'll call it, are also I Love America people.
And not selfish.
And they use it like when I talk about using Bible verses as a weapon, they use America as a weapon, right? They use it as, this is my country. You have no place here. You have no rights here.
Which again doesn't make sense anyway.
That is what this country was established, and don't make me force Hamilton down your throat just so you can digest it in an easier way to learn what this country
I mean,
was
we've
based
been known
of.
as the melting pot for how long? Like, we are meant to be a safe space for those persecuted by their home country / immigration / sending slaves here / all these crazy things.
We
like
pulled
it
so many slaves here to build this country for us, and then expect to not treat them like they didn't make this the country that you brag is so great about.
There's so many different factors, and I am really sorry, but excluding the farmer, the white man has always seemed so lazy in history to me.
Yeah.
They will get somebody else to do their work for them. They will bitch and moan until politics are turned into what they need.
When you talk to anyone in the business world, the corporate world,
it's like it feels like cowboys versus professionals
to work
right now.
hard enough to not have to work anymore, right? To make enough money to where all you do is you just answer emails. And so that's what I think about in the mentality, where in other countries it's like, I work because I'm proud. I work because I want to support my corporation, or I want to build my business.
Right,
like,
I'm invested in what I'm doing.
Yes, exactly. But we work hard so that we don't have to work hard anymore. And there definitely becomes
it's the American dream, of the retirement and the home and the family.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking retirement either. Like, that's something different. I'm talking like when you are 20 and you're like, by the time I'm 30, I want to be, I don't want to be serving tables anymore. I want to be the manager running the restaurant.
Right.
I feel like it's like more money with less tasks when you start growing up that chain.
Sure.
In terms of hard labor.
Like, I don't know.
But like, I've been in so many jobs where I've been on both ends of the totem pole, and management and leadership always seems work in terms of like labor and running around and stress, less sex. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not easy having to do an inventory or manage a till or firing people. Like, that's not great. But you're also not front facing with those customers every day, right? You take this move from in front to behind the curtain.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is I don't see it so much as a escape route from work as it is the need to succeed. So every promotion I get in my eyes is not because, oh sweet, I'm gonna have bigger responsibilities, but less minor tasks to do. Like, nobody wants to roll silverware anymore. Nobody wants to mop up the floor at the end of the day or count liquor bottles. But and that's solely in the restaurant industry that we're talking about.
And that is 100% too. Like, that just could be a different mindset between a decent human being and a shitty human being, right? Where someone's sole purpose is to, climb up because when I think of like Wall Street, that's for some reason that's like always what comes to my mind is like white men in power, to where eventually they literally are just a figure in the media or something behind the scenes, and they're just racking in money. But what do they really do?
Well, I mean, they're like the OG influencers.
Yeah.
At this point, they are the representation of their brand. So you start to then become a brand ambassador for things, so you don't work as hard, but you're Samuel L. Jackson and you represent XYZ.
Yeah, but that's still, I don't know why, but that still worked to me. Maybe for me,
give me an example.
Like, I'm thinking like CEOs and VPs. Like, why don't we have? I don't
know. I've never done the work of a CEO or a VP.
Like, I almost don't see the need for a CEO, a president, a VP, because like you said the other day when we were driving, I believe in boards. I believe in a committee.
Yeah, very much so.
So I don't believe in one person in charge. I believe in a diverse community of people making decisions, because I think that that's where you get some equality out of. So for me, I guess what I'm thinking about right now is like, people who are purposely climbing to specifically be in charge of other people, to tell them to do the work so they don't have to. Right. And I can see it as both an achievement, but there's also, I think, a fine line before we start. If you're not a decent human being, now you're going to use that as a tool of power over someone else. And you're totally going to reap the benefits of their hard work all the time, which is super messed up. Now I'm thinking of like sweatshops.
I was like, I don't know how we really, how we got into work ethic.
Well, because we were talking about
I just need a reminder, that's all.
well, it all started with no knock warrants.
Yeah,
and
we were
people
just
in power
about,
making the rules.
Right, and the people and how they get in their places of power and how much control they end up having when they're either untrained or undeserving of said things. So I had mentioned the coroners, and there is like a rule where if the town is so small, the mayor can also appoint himself as said coroner. And then like I made it's such a crazy point to make that the pathologist who actually does the medical exam is not ultimately the person who signs and fills out the death certificate. It's the coroner.
Which, if people didn't know, then you have the right to get a second opinion, which is what obviously happened with George Floyd, because the initial medical report comes out that says he died of like heart issues and pulmonary stress.
Yeah, but
it didn't say anything related to the fucking knee on his neck. And so that's a super important thing to call out. And again, it's when we look at these things, that's how easily corruption is built.
Well, the most recent one that I've seen is the tampered footage where the audio was already taken out of it. Actually, the police, it was a separate police officer who knew about the incident and knew that his precinct wasn't going to press charges, so he released the video to the media.
That's insane.
And that's how we got the video of that man with the police officers holding his nose closed for 90 seconds until he died.
Yeah. And
literally sitting on top of him in front, holding his, for what purpose would you ever need to pinch someone's nose closed when they're already handcuffed in the back seat of your squad car?
I just don't.
And it's not being it's being considered. Or like, let's talk about the lynching directly in front of the government building, which they ruled as suicide.
Right, like I climbed up there. So this is all recent news, right? If some of these things you're just hearing from us for the first time, I really do highly recommend you take a quick peek in recent news. There's like two kinds of news right now, right? There's like what you see in like Fox and CNN, and it's like, then there's what you see from like your local activist journals. I really do recommend that you're like checking multiple news sources when you're around here and listening to multiple podcasts from all over the place too, because there's so many things getting unearthed every day that it is impossible to keep up with all of it, but it is all so important because things are being revealed in every state across this country. And it's corruption everywhere, and it's 100% our job as civilians to fix that because that's where we hold the power.
Yeah.
So the huge thing right now, obviously, if you guys still haven't been in any of the news, Wayfair has gotten called out for possible being involved in a human trafficking thing.
Yeah.
And that ties back all the way to an Epstein name. I'm definitely going to be checking out the Epstein documentary because
I'm already halfway.
I'm interested to see where that all transpired. But this again to me was it's just like another thing that's probably started little and was easily morphed into a huge ring because no one ever double checks. No one asks what you're doing with my money. No one asks.
Well, in this case, Wayfair is it's like an Amazon hosting site, which is why they pulled Amazon into it as well. And the issue is, you're right, they don't double check. So you apply to be a seller on their site. They do an initial background check. And from the best of my knowledge, that's the last you're ever spoken to from the actual company. In Wayfair, now you're a seller. It's just like Etsy. It's like any site like that. So you have you therein run in the problem of cabinets being sold for thousands of dollars. And
with the whole thing going on with like there being this huge list of people who visited like Epstein's Island, that's again this thing where it's like, it couldn't have been a secret because from what it sounds like from the media that everyone's known for a fucking long time that was a huge creep and doing some sketchy shit. So I'm trying to figure out what the fuck everyone's excuse was for knowing him and for being with him and for not like checking if he was your sponsor or if he was a huge investor in you.
Well, money plays a huge role in it. You just said it. If he was your sponsor or a huge investor, you're going to do everything in your power to keep him behind your back. And that's what I think. Money.
Again,
and you're not outrightly seeing what's happening.
Money is 100% involved in all of it. That's what rules this world, honestly. And yeah, and that's where I was saying though, like, it makes me mad because that's where it's your responsibility to check where your shit is going. So as a fucking A-list actor, how devastating is it going to be when your whole life is shattered because you just got blasted in the media for being involved in this, and all you should have done was check your due diligence, who the fuck you're getting money from. And now I wish I knew her name, but she wrote and produced I Will Destroy You. I believe it's an Amazon original special. And when it first came out, she denied a huge sponsorship. And then that went around and turned into this huge thing of like self-sponsor. And anyways, it's a phenomenal show, but I'm starting to see more and more of this trend again of people just saying like, no, I don't want your sponsorship because I'm not here to rep your brand.
Right.
I'm here to rep myself. And if you're going to give me something only at the risk that I have to then bow down to you, like, I don't want that. That's not how I want to survive. I want someone to invest in me because they like my company or they like my show or they like what I have to offer, not because they think that I'm going to be able to boost their brand.
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, that's the classic sellout.
Right.
Like, don't be a sellout.
Yeah, don't be a sellout. Very much so.
On the terms of money and how it rules literally everything, and the terms of civil rights and human rights. Now we're coming back into the news is Britney Spears.
Oh, that's so devastating.
It is so devastating because of it's literally like
it's a conservatorship.
It's like the equivalent of putting a woman in a mental institution for hysteria for being on her period, you know, like her dad has full control over her. And here's the deal is if she really is ill in any way, I can guarantee you it's not her father that needs to be her guardian right now. She needs to be somewhere
like
getting help.
Someone's causing that issue. What's happening in her home is not
the only way that she will have a fighting chance is if somehow other people will pay, because she can't pay herself because she doesn't control any of her money, to the best of my knowledge. So other people have to pay for her to get a lawyer to fight for her own rights to actually become like a functioning member of society again. And I just think it's like she was a teen idol for so long, and she did so much and kept up a great appearance for the most part of it. And like, listen, we all shave in our head now, so who cares about that? So why is she not allowed to make, at the very least, her own decisions about anything, I guess?
The huge comment that's going around is like, she went on 3 world tours. We see her on social media consistently. How can you tell me that someone is not comprehensible enough to run their own life when they're consistently in the spotlight, proving, even if it's being a force, that she can obviously function as a member of society?
Exactly. At this point, and if she's being forced to, it's even worse. At that point, you know, she needs the help to be able to not be in the spotlight constantly. But either way, it's just such a crazy like side story to have going on right now with everything else in the world. And then you've got even a rich pop star who still can't defeat the system.
Like someone else taking control over their human rights. We just don't even give a person their plain human rights. And maybe that'll turn, like, y'all want to talk about human trafficking, like that is 100% where it starts. He is forcing her to consistently be in media. He's taking her money and he's only giving her an allowance. Like, that's a pimp. Okay, I'm sorry, but he's 100% profiting off her. And Pat and I had a discussion earlier. That's why I said that's where human trafficking starts. When we talk about the Wayfair thing and how do these things go undetected, how did human trafficking become the biggest underground ring in this world? How do we let it get that far? And it's like, what do you mean? How do we let it get that far? We never stopped that shit. We've been pulling people and selling them since the dawn of time. And then what happened is we started calling it other things. We started calling it arranged marriages, and we started having
prison workforce.
Yes, and we started letting fucking little kids marry people after they're 16 with the approval of their parents, right? We have built a system where we don't think it's weird.
It's not hard.
And it's not hard.
It's not hard to take advantage of someone who is...
I talked about this article I read a couple weeks ago where it was calling out the way language very much affects how we start perceiving these political issues, because we've started to soften words so that we don't hurt people's feelings in terms of like just describing the disgusting world out there. And so
when sexual assault instead of rape,
when we call it sleeping with an underage woman, and it's like, no, that's raping a child or raping a teenager. Okay, like they're call it what it is,
or making a silly mistake. No, yes, you raped someone behind a dumpster.
And so that is what we need to call an arranged marriage is still selling off your child. Okay,
well, an arranged marriage is not always, there's not money involved always.
Yeah, there is. There's either money or an agreement in an arranged marriage. That is what like people do. Arranged marriages, obviously.
I was like, there are cultures who very much still go through like arranged marriages, not with children. Like, no. I'm not talking about
arranged marriages. That's what I'm saying, though. That is still telling someone else who they marry, regardless of if they want that or not. And that arranged marriages very much happen because it is either to keep status and wealth, or a lot of sometimes it was bloodlines. If you want to go way, way far back. But yeah, no, arranged marriages very much stem from making, in some cases too, it's like, well, I'm poor and you're rich, so I'm going to marry my daughter off to a rich man so she can have a better life.
I understand, yeah.
And even then, it's just like, what if that better life is not what she wanted? What if she was totally cool with marrying the local shepherd? So that's another thing that maybe it's like one of the little things we can start is just really focusing on.
Well, there's already
language.
Well, yeah, for sure. I thought we were going towards the arranged marriages. I was like, there's already stuff set in place, like foundations to help end arranged marriages.
Yep.
So,
but it's just
that's
like
all I had on that.
It's just it's. How do you unteach a whole culture? And I feel
like, how do you tell someone that part of their potential religion is also
I
incorrect?
Just feel like though
you tell them, this is what I'm saying, is there is no more being sugarcoating it.
I do feel like for those of us who are in power or can, it's up to us to stand up. That's like what we said, and it's up to someone to say that's wrong. But if we just keep bowing our heads and say, well, that's what they've always done in their culture, or that's how it's always been, like that's the same reason we yell at Uncle Jim at the table when he's racist, when he says, well, that's how I grew up. It's like, well, just because that's how you grew up didn't make it right. Like, I need you to unlearn and relearn on why that's wrong. And maybe if I can like put you in their footsteps, or if you see something else traumatic happen, or if I marry you off, like, will you finally understand what it means to not have your own rights? I don't know. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. I was obviously talking about human trafficking a lot because I've had a few work things and things come up in the media, and human trafficking is just a really scary thing, especially up here in the Midwest. So I just don't think people realize how slippery of a slope it is.
Well, slippery of a slope, yeah, but how big of a deal it is. Like, it's not some small thing happening in the Midwest right now.
Right, no.
Sex trafficking is a huge, huge, huge problem up here, particularly.
Yes. So. And it just goes unnoticed because, again, people like to turn a blind eye to things that are not pretty and not nice and doesn't smell like
roses. Nobody is comfortable to offer anybody help anymore because you're constantly worried that you will be retaliated negatively. The reaction won't go over well. you may get hurt or in trouble. And it's we have been taught, and this brings me into just like one of the final points I wanted to say, which is like we've been taught to constantly fear each other, which is one huge thing. And then you play in our president who throws out tweets that we are in danger of each other if the other we are in danger of each other if the other presidential candidate wins.
Right.
He will not keep you safe.
Yes.
Keep us safe from the people you are encouraging to come at us if we vote for him.
Yes.
Because your other comments, actions, what have you, have only proved that he will react negatively in the event he loses. So are you telling me that he won't keep me safe from you? Because that's what it sounds like right now.
I'll definitely end that with you. I think that's a good point to end. And it's just like,
and I'm not trying to sway one way or the other right now. I'm just saying.
Right now, our government as a whole is not here to unite us. It's going to be the job of the people.
They are going to make you fear.
And so I think if we can preach anything here, you guys, it's like, A, please start with educating yourself. B, find others, because when you find that strength and unity, all of a sudden you'll feel a little less helpless.
Yeah, well, you're a little bit more willing to step up.
You're 100% more willing to step up because you feel like you have some people to back you up.
Read a good book.
And for those of you, though, who aren't, and you're sticking it up at the family table and to the friends by yourself,
get after it. Keep doing it.
Seriously, and we commend you. And again, for all of our listeners out there, don't ever hesitate to reach out to us if you have a story, if you think a voice needs to be shared, if you just need some comfort because you are that person to stand up and you don't feel like you have anyone to support you. Seriously, send us a DM. I promise you that if you're not the only one out there. We said this in the beginning when we started. We wanted this podcast to be a community of like-minded people who could come together and build each other up and build the community up around them. We're almost a year and a half into this, which is insane.
It is crazy.
And that meaning is still very strong for us as these times get crazier. Like we said, it's not going to get any easier. Just like, no, there are good people and we support each other. I promise.
We got it. We can do it.
All right, you guys. I hope you have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.